Hi everyone, I'm Trisha Morris at Club Scrap with the Spellbound Special Edition Page Kit. During this workshop, we're going to be taking all the contents of that Spellbound Page Kit. We'll be doing some sorting, trimming, and then finally some dry fit assembly so that you can be all ready to go to finish up these pages and add your pictures and memories and journaling. So this is going to be a lot of fun. If this is your first time, you are able to reduce the playback speed of the video to accommodate a slower pace just by pushing on the gear button in the lower right corner of your screen and just choose a slower playback. So what we're going to do first is just set aside everything that came in the collection, like these really cool charms that I just dropped on the table here, and the ribbon, the little glassine envelopes and dazzles. And let's just put some things in order here. So when I sort the paper in trimming order, I like to hold it sort of in the crook of my arm so that I can peek at it from the top edge and just see everything easily. The first piece I want you to find is this darker, I'm calling it the castle print. And as we accumulate the pile in order, I want to put it face down on my trimmer base. Then find the horse print and then put that face down as well. Next we'll find the black plain. Now there's a lot of colors in here, and that deep purple is so dark it could almost pass for black. So just make sure you're grabbing one black plain. And then the gold plain. Now be careful here as well. There's so much paper in this kit and it's all really beautiful. We've got a dark orange, a light orange, and then a single sheet of gold. So you're looking for the brightest gold color. There it is, gold. And then dark orange. We're going to trim two of those. So just go ahead and find both dark orange. So here's the dark, and make sure you don't grab the light orange. Go with the dark orange. Next, let's take one light orange and then one ivory. Now with the ivory, you're going to notice it has this really deep, beautiful texture on one side and it's more smooth on the other. So even with this, I'll put it face down on my trimmer. And next, let's grab the cut apart with There Is Magic, Late at Night When Pumpkins Glow by Candlelight. And then the strip that has, or the piece that has the border strips on it. Continuing on, I'll take the light orange that remains, followed by one plain ivory. And again, I'll put the ivory face down so that the linen texture will eventually be facing up. Next, you should have two pieces of the lighter purple, and then there's a really deep purple. So grab the light purple, two of those, and then the dark purple, followed by this brighter piece with the horse on it, and then the remaining dark castle print and the remaining black plain. Then take that whole stack and flip it back over again to the top with the sheet that we had when we first started, this dark castle print. And then I'm going to have you set all that aside and grab that sheet of 4x12 folding board. We're going to cut this into a series of narrower pieces to make some inserts for our glassine bags. So let's just take this piece of folding board and place it in your trimmer. It's very heavy, but your trimmer, if you have this model, should be able to handle it. And we'll trim horizontally at 7.5, 5, and 2.5. Now if you look at this, you can see how this fits right into each one of these bags. And if we like, we can go ahead and put these in the accordion pocket file I'm using to stay organized. Now, if you don't have this pocket file, if you haven't made one yet, I encourage you to do it. Don't let that stop you from making these pages right now, though. Just keep 4 piles, one for each double page spread. You're going to put one of these in pocket 1 and 2, one of them in pocket 5 and 6, and the other in pocket 7 and 8. Now that takes care of that. And then this last piece is a scrap that you can use at your own discretion. Next, let's take this castle print and we're just going to place it right side up into the trimmer and give that a cut at 5 3/4. Again, if you're new here, we do measure quite a bit, but the measuring is what makes this method really magical. So if you don't even know where 5 3/4 is, just find the 5-inch mark. Again, if you're using this great trimmer, go to the left 3 vertical columns. So that's 5, 5 1/4, 5 1/2, 5 3/4. That's what we're after, 5 3/4. And then you can take both of these pieces and place them into pocket 5 and 6. Now when I'm working with big pieces like this, I place them in the pocket at an angle so I can still see the number on the left, and then it's just kind of sticking out from the side there. Next, we'll take this print, and this one's going to go into the trimmer facing with the horse on this upper left corner and the dragon down on the lower left corner. And we'll go ahead and trim that at 6.5. It's going to be right to the head of the dragon. And then place this in pocket 7 and 8. And then take this remaining piece, we're going to trim horizontally. And it doesn't matter which way it's in the trimmer as long as it's horizontal. Start at 11.25, 7.5, and 3 3/4. Okay, so stack up these 3 pieces that are the same, or they should be anyway, and those also go in pockets 7 and 8. There is a small piece, we're going to use that in 3 and 4. If you're following along on the instructions, I just completed the first 2 diagrams on page 1, and now I'm flipping to the ever exciting here, page 2, and we have a nice easy one. We're going to start out trimming at 11 3/4 with this black plain. So 11 3/4 is almost to 12, so just be aware of that. And then down to 6. So cut at 6 here. And then rotate the 6-inch piece and cut at 8 and 4. Pile up the 3 rectangles you made that are the same. They're going to go in 3 and 4, pocket 3 and 4. And then trim the next strip. This is 5 3/4 by 12 right now, and we'll cut again at 8 and 4 also. And then these 3 are going to go into pocket 7 and 8, along with that tiny little strip that we started with. So that goes into 7 and 8 as well. Now I'm moving on to the gold plain. Just make sure you have this gold. It's the brightest yellow. There's only 1 sheet of it in the collection. And our first cut is at 11 3/4, then 11.5. Then slide down to 10 3/4, 10, 9, and 5 3/4. Again, that's 5 3/4. Rotate and trim at 8 and 4. So we've done this before a couple times. It's 8, 4. Gather up our 3 rectangles, and those are going to go in pocket 5 and 6. Now this next strip, we have a few cuts to make here. This is currently 3 1/4 by 12. We'll cut at 9 3/4, 7.5, and 5 1/4. So you can take this longer rectangle and then 2 more pieces that are smaller, the same size. All of that goes in 5 and 6, and there should be 1 smaller rectangle remaining that goes in 1 and 2. I'll pick up all the rest of the strips that fell, and let's file those in the order they landed. So this wider one is 5 and 6. The next 2 smaller ones both go into pocket 1 and 2, and then these other 2 really skinny ones go in 5 and 6. Next, I'll take 1 dark orange. We do have 2, but just make sure you only have 1. And this one we're going to cut at 10.5 and 6 1/4. Then rotate and cut at 8.5 and 4 1/4. Take the 2 pieces that are the same, and those go in pocket 3 and 4. And then this rectangular strip here, we're going to trim at 4.5. This goes in 3 and 4 as well. Then you have this really pretty small guy, and we're going to actually trim him at 1 3/4. That's where this stabilizing bar and this trimmer is so nice, because I can still hold it in place and safely secure that paper for the trim. Both of these little squares go in pocket 5 and 6. The next larger strip that we have here of the orange, we're going to cut at 6 1/4. And this piece goes in pocket 3 and 4. And the other one that fell goes in 5 and 6. And we have 1 more strip to place in 7 and 8. And now I'm going to grab the next dark orange. Let's cut this at 10 3/4, 8.5, and 6. Rotate this one, and we're going to cut at 8.5 and 4 1/4. Just made some photo mats here. Both of these pieces that are the same or should be the same go in 7 and 8. And then this next rectangle we'll cut at 5. This piece now will be placed in 5 and 6, and the smaller piece 3 and 4. Now we have this 2.5 by 12 inch strip. We'll trim this at 11 3/4, 9 1/2, 7, and 4 1/2. The 4.5 inch piece goes in 7 and 8. And then you have 2 squares, so one of them will be shorter. So the 2 squares go in pocket 1 and 2. There's the smaller rectangle going in 3 and 4. And I do regret to inform you that this is a scrap. Not going to use it. All right, this wider piece goes in 7 and 8. And then you have the smaller one going in 3 and 4. Moving right along, here we have the one light orange. This has that sort of pressed texture. I don't know how else to describe it. It's a really cool sheet. And then this one we trim at 10 1/2, 6 1/4, rotate, go 8 1/2, and 4 1/4. We do this a lot. And then these 2 rectangles again, same size, going into pocket 1 and 2. And then horizontally, this rectangle will cut at 3, the whole number 3. And the 3 inch piece goes in pocket 3 and 4. And the other rectangle that fell, or is it a square? No, it's still a rectangle. That goes in 1 and 2. Pick up the next strip. We'll cut at 6 1/4. And then this goes in pocket 1 and 2. And the other in 3 and 4. And then we have this strip going into pocket 3 and 4 as well. Getting there. Okay, now the ivory. Now this again has that texture side facing up. At this point it doesn't really matter, but when you're gluing it down, keep that in mind. First cut again here is going to be at 11 3/4. Then 10 3/4. And 6 1/2. Rotate and cut this at 8 3/4. And put this whole giant piece into pocket 1 and 2. And this next strip, we're going to take off a real little piece. We're just going to cut it at 6 1/4 and place this also in pocket 1 and 2. And once again, we've created a scrap, I'm afraid. I know. Okay, now what is this one? 4 1/4 by 12 right now. We're going to cut it 9 3/4 and 5 1/2. Now, this 5 1/2 piece you just created, we're going to rotate it so it's vertical and trim at 4. This is going to go in pocket 3 and 4. And we created a tiny scrap. The square and the smaller rectangle that fell off the end, these both go in 7 and 8. Then you have this wider piece, this strip, pocket 3 and 4, and the tiny strip in 1 and 2. And for all of that, these are your 3 tiny little scraps. We have a little bit of trimming left to do with these cut aparts. So the first thing we need to do is remove the outside perimeter of this print to create the perfect 12 by 12. And if you see this in reversed here, there's a very pale crosshairs. Those are basically registration marks or cutting guides to help us remove the appropriate amount of paper from the edge of each side. So I'll line up that little crosshairs with the edge of my trimming blade, and then I'll rotate around to the next side and do that same alignment trick again. This time I can see more easily at the top and bottom. Now when I make another rotation, if that first cut went well, I should just be able to go to the 12 inches over here and see that I'm aligned. Now I'm just going to make a slight adjustment and go back and make one more slice on the other side. And you'll understand what I mean when you do this yourself, if you haven't done it before. Then I'll cut this edge, and once again, one more little hair off of this side. One of the things I love about this trimmer is that it can accurately remove just the slightest amount of paper from anything. Then I'll get rid of the little extras. And I'm going to make sure that this goes back into the trimmer with the That's How I Like It on the right. And we'll cut at 11 1/4, Also just want to visually make sure that when you're going to make the first slice, you're not slicing through artwork. That means you need to rotate your print in a different direction. Okay, then 10 3/4, 10 1/4, 7 1/4, and 4. All right, now rotate and make sure the word haunted's on the far right, and we can trim at 10 6. This frame goes in pocket 3 and 4. The next 2 pieces from that strip go in 7 and 8. Second strip here with the frames, make sure frames are on the right, and we'll trim at 9 1/2, 7, and 4 1/4. These 2 pieces, the Spellbound and the carriage, 3 and 4. And then this frame with the castle, 5 and 6, and the frame with the tree, as if it matters, 3 and 4. And then we take the next strip, make sure that the tree and journaling prompt tag is on the right. Our first cut's at 10, and then 8, and 6. If you've got it, haunt it, 1 and 2. Let me quick show you a trick. This has a tag shape, and while you're at it then, if you want, you can visually line up the edge of the tag with the blade to match the margin on the other sides. And I just get my blade as close as I can to the tag to see that it's properly lined up, and then just chop it off. And I'll do the same on the other corner of this tag. You can also do this with a craft knife and cutting mat for extra accuracy. This isn't perfect, but it's close. And then this goes in pocket 1 and 2. It just kind of depends on what type of scrapper you are, right? Type A or not. Okay, the piece with the bat, this is another tag that you could do the same thing, but I won't do it now. That goes in 3 and 4. The little carriage, pumpkin carriage, 5 and 6. And then the tree, journaling prompt, 1 and 2. We have some thin strips going into 1 and 2, both of them. And then you have this, That's How I Like It, that goes in 5 and 6. And you might have your little triangular shapes you can pitch. Next sheet of cut aparts requires that same treatment, so go ahead and line up the crosshairs and trim the outer perimeter so that it's an exact 12 by 12. Now that that's removed, I'm going to begin with Keep Your Magic in the lower right corner here. I always chop off the skinniest pieces first. So we'll find 10 3/4, 9 1/2, 7 1/2, 5 1/2, and 3. You can rotate, make sure the castle's on the right. That's how I've got the measurements written here. And we'll trim at 7, 6, and 3. Okay, these 2 pieces, pocket 1 and 2, we have the castle and the spooky both going into 5 and 6. And then I'm just going to pick up, let's see, Eat, Drink, and Be Scary. That's 1 and 2. The next strip we need to separate into pieces. So you know it's been a good day. That goes on the far right, and we'll cut at 10 1/2, 7, and 3 1/2. Okay, I'll stop wearing black. That's 5 and 6. You Say Wicked Like It's a Bad Thing, 1 and 2. And the Book of Spells, 7 and 8. And You Know It's Been a Good Day, that's 3 and 4. The remaining strips, let's get those filed. Metal Knot, that's 7 and 8. And then also this piece that does not have text on it other than the tiny text, that goes in 7 and 8. And then Keep Your Magic, that'll belong in 3 and 4. That concludes all of the trimming required for all 8 pages, which again is the magic of this whole method of assembly line style scrapbooking. So now we can remove our accordion pocket file from the trimmer base and set that trimmer aside. Next, you can also turn to page 5 of your instructions, and I'm looking at the bottom here at layouts 7 and 8. So make sure you find that. We're going to work our way from the back to the front. So from layout number 8 to layout number 1, and dry fit, meaning not use any adhesive during this process to save time. And all we're doing is just place marking where things are going to go, distributing everything to each individual page from our pocket. That way, when you want to finish your pages and you're ready to do that, you can do it in a group situation where you don't have to concentrate so hard, and your productivity will go way up. And what I did was take the remaining pieces that we've put in order, and I've stacked them to the left of the center of my work surface, and then slid the top piece over. That's going to give me the foundation required to complete layouts 7 and 8. So, likewise, when we go to our accordion pocket file, we're going to start out with that very last pocket and take everything out of it. Make sure you get everything and set that aside. And now what I find really helps is if I take everything out of the pocket and put it in the palm of my hand so I can kind of see it. Now if I just glance at my photo and my instructions, I can see that this large piece goes right over here, and then I'm going to separate the print from the base with this black thin strip. Kind of section it out a little bit. Vertically, I can see that this large piece maybe gets an orange backing. It's going to nest perfectly onto that, and it does. And it gets placed vertically here on the left edge. Then I'll take 2 orange photo mats, and I realize that I'm covering up the horse. I'm going to give you a trick for that in a minute. And they should have some companions that nest perfectly right onto them. And then one of the glassine bags should fit the Book of Spells tag. Will fit right onto that. You can shape those into tags accordingly. Now, on the right side of the layout, we have some prints that we're going to just separate into photo mats and place vertically across. Fits like a charm. Then this narrow strip here gets matted onto some dark orange, a horizontal mat right here, and then this Something Wicked This Way Comes will nest with the white. And this should be a triple mat, so you can have the burnt orange or the dark orange, the ivory, and then the sentiment. That's going to fit right down over here. And I did add one of the charms, and we can go over that in detail when I look at the finished page. But basically, those are all the elements of this layout. So for finishing, when you go back and adhere, here just are some tips. On this one, I attached the mat here, and then I just cut a length of the ribbon and taped the ends around to the back, just stretched it across, and then I tied this little piece onto the ribbon. Works like a charm. Then I added the 4 jewel dazzles with the tip of a craft knife. That always just works best if you just grab the piece off the sheet. There's a small, medium, and large size with the tip of a craft knife. Placing it is so much easier and less frustrating. Okay, now in this one, I added some jewel dazzles here, and I created the tag shape and punched a hole and added some ribbon across the top. Here's the charm tied with some jute ribbon. And then in this case, I took a pencil and just marked where the photo mat met the head of the stallion here. And I used a craft knife to cut along his head so I could keep that in the foreground of this particular print. I don't think you can see through it because it's going through the first layer of this print. But just kind of a neat way. It's a little bit more advanced. You have to feel comfortable with the craft knife and cutting mat to make that happen. But I love the finished effect, and I was able to preserve the dragon here on the right. Okay, rather than set all of this aside, I'm going to slide and stack it. So I'm going to take this ivory base paper, slide it to the right, and then take this one and slide it to the right again, just one sheet. Now that gives me the base that is required for pages 5 and 6. You can see the purple there, the light purple in the background. Then if I just remember to work my way backwards from pocket 5 and 6, get everything out of there. If this is your first time experiencing this method, I hope you're starting to grasp like how cool this can really be and how much time it can save you to go back and add your pictures to this at the end. Even if you don't really know what pictures are going, trust me, it will work beautifully. Okay, now this piece goes on the left with the castle, and then the carriage will go on the far right. So we're just separating the print into 2 strips, and then we'll align some brighter yellow here to add a little color to this, a little separation. That's kind of fun. And then I'm just gonna, so I can get my spacing right, I'm gonna grab the 2 gold colored mats and place them. They fit perfectly right into this opening here. And then we're gonna have another one kind of over in this area. We'll fine tune that. Across the top then, above the 2 gold mats, we're gonna place the strip with the title. That's how I like it. Let's see, there are 2 small orange, dark orange triangles you can just place there as a little accent. And we should have a frame. Now I did go ahead and fussy cut this frame with scissors. It was easy to do, and I think I just placed it right about there. I pop dotted it. On the lower left of this page, I had the glassine bag. I nested this sentiment onto the bag, punched the top, and added some ribbon. Then over on the right, the larger remaining dark orange piece I put vertically and then aligned the bottom edge of this gold mat next to it. Then with this gold, it should nest perfectly onto here. This is going to be placed right here, and then you can do a side by side. So once you get your tag shape, you can replicate that or pass that through to the gold, and that should nest beautifully. And then the word spooky got trimmed out. I just fussy cut it with the scissors and added that right there. So for finishing touches, we've got our spooky. Notice how those jewel dazzles sort of look like brads, but they're quick and easy to attach. And it goes really quick if you do it that way. And I popped out of that with some foam adhesive circles. And here I just tied some ribbon around, or some jute fiber around the top of the tag where I punched a hole. And then on this side, I've got my really cool fussy cut. Now by fussy cut, I don't mean spend 25 minutes. I mean spend 2 minutes going around the general shape of the frame. Always will work great. I lined up some jewel dazzles. Really just makes it an eye-catching title. And then here's my little tag with some ribbon on top. Okay, so stack and slide again. I'm going to pick up the base, just that one sheet of purple, and slide it over. That's the light purple. And then the other sheet of dark purple, you'll notice this has a really pretty linen texture to it. I like texture. Smooth is also a texture. Okay, now page 3 and 4, moving along quite easily here. Take everything out of the pocket. I've been doing it this way for so many years, and I gotta admit, it never gets old to me. I just love the magic of, after all the work, you know, to see these pages come together so quickly and easily is just my favorite part of the day. Okay, now we have this lighter orange piece. We're gonna stretch that across the top here and use that Keep Your Magic link there. And after, again, a rough fussy cut of this, it's gonna go in the upper left corner. There is this piece, but it gets a mat. I don't see it in my hand right now. Now across the bottom, let's go to the right side and anchor this down too. So this goes across here at the bottom. And in the image, it looks black, and I didn't use paper for that. I used the Silver Edge grosgrain ribbon that's included in your kit. Then we have 2 large mats. Now this time I'm covering the dragon because he made an appearance on the other page, so I wasn't too worried about it. So I apologize if that bothers you to cover him up because he's pretty cute. And I'm gonna have a nest there. Same here. This dark orange will nest with the black. And then the light orange will nest with the ivory. So now you can see how much math and calculation and planning went into every cut that we made. Fits the Spellbound nests onto that. This tag goes over here, the smaller orange piece here, which fits the height of this, and then the right edge can be wrapped with some jute. The little fussy cut frame, lower right corner here. This is what nests with the pumpkin, and you can tuck that under. You'll be able to see more of it once this is trimmed out. Now you can see here that I have these 2 odd pieces. I'm going to grab my scissors and just cut a V into the short edge of one side of this paper that could have very well have been a scrap. And I'm going to do the same on this end. It doesn't matter that it's a different length. Just going to freestyle a cut and make these nest together, and just tuck this right behind here, and it gives me an anchor on which to add the storybook charm right on that page. Turns out really cool. So finished page number 4. Here you can see my little trick here. Hindsight, I don't know, maybe I would have added some jute to that. I don't know, sometimes you see more things you could have done. Here you can see the jute wrapped around that open area on the right edge, and I pop dotted this cut apart. Turned it into a tag shape, punched a hole, threaded some ribbon, taped the edges on the back, stretched the entire way across here and taped those ends on the back. And then I attached this with foam adhesive and added a couple of jewel dazzles. On the facing page, this just, it's real clean and simple, but it's one of my favorites in the whole series. Added the jewel dots here, topped the dragon charm with some jute, added some dazzles to this, and adhered it again with foam just to make it pop a little bit. You can see how it just perfectly nestles right in there with this matted cut apart too. I love that. Okay, rounding out on the very last page. If you're the type who has in the past spent hours and hours trying to get one layout done, those days are over, right? I mean, if you do it this way and this works for you and you enjoy it and you continually, practice and improve your skills, your speed, and your with your practice, it will definitely become an incredibly different experience for you. This large ivory will be vertically placed on this page, and then the Eat, Drink, and Be Scary is going to be on the left. Let's see, we have a nested strip. So one of the yellow will be vertical here next to the white, and the other is going to be up top over here. Then you can nest with this cool one. It looks kind of like lightning to me. I love it. It's fiery. It's cool. And then another white strip kind of gives me the illusion of more white, more brightness on this page. This is going to fit like a puzzle piece right into that spot. The other piece of ivory will nest and just really make this pop. I liked how that brightened that up in the upper corner. Again, you would follow through with trimming the triangles from the corner. Let's see, 2 circular pieces. Now, option number 1 is to cut with scissors. What I was able to find is from my stash is a circle die with a little stitched edge that I use to die cut these, but that's entirely up to you. So this darker one, and if the broom fits, fly it. I love that. Okay, then we have 2 mats that I'm going to angle and offset a little bit so I can still see the castle and the carriage. This is going to go above here, and this is going to go here along with this tag. You say wicked like it's a bad thing. I did put one of the charms in this open area of the tag. You could also add ribbon, whatever you desire. The yellow fits with the journaling prompt, and that's going to go over here, and then the 2 last squares down in the lower left corner. Finishing touches, the smallest size of the jewel dazzle gets placed in the corner here. Just really kind of draws the eye to it, and then it's just your job to write something, like a little caption about what these photos are. And a quick finishing tip too, if you don't have 2 vertical photos, no problem. Add 2 just slightly more cropped, smaller ones in that space. The vertical and horizontal balance is what occurs. Even if we have all horizontal or all vertical pictures, I still try to have the variance to please the eye with the layout. It's going to make it look more professional. So on this side, here's that tag shape now that I made out of the folding board. Charm added, ribbon wrapped around at the back and secured with tape. Made a basic bow here, topped it on top of the circles that were die cut, so it really has a nice clean look. Again, you can do that with your scissors as well. I've done that many times. And finished with a bunch of all 3 sizes of the jewel dazzles. And I think it looks just like a kettle, like a witch's brew kind of a thing. Eat, drink, and be scary. That's it. That is layout number 1. You are finished with this project to the point of you can put this in a bag, take it to a crop, impress your friends with the speed and agility at which you finish your pages. Once everything's glued down, and I'm challenging you to do that, don't wait to glue it down until you know what pictures you're going to get. Just go ahead and place them down with adhesive, grab your pictures, bring your pictures to the finished layouts, and you won't believe how quick and easy it will be to finish them up. So good luck with the project. Be sure to post your finished pages to our online chat group at Facebook. It's called Club Scrap Chat. Be sure to subscribe to our channel, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in class again soon.